All right, friends, you should be able to see episode 4. We're going to talk about trust. And as always, I want to say thank you very much for your attendance. And we hope you're getting very, very quality information and especially results out of this. We're glad that you're here. We love doing this. And just as a quick recap, we always like to plop this slide in there. If just as a self-check, ask yourself, since the last time we talked 2 weeks ago, have you done a better job of making sure that you have your purpose clear, you have your goals set, you found that accountability partner and support system if you hadn't had it, you're now starting to write things down on a regular basis, daily, to knock those things out? Have you removed a negative person from your life, and have you included a positive person in your life? It's always nice to see that there's a little ebb and flow there. And then did you read a book last week? Did you listen to a podcast? Did you do something that was enriching yourself so that you're prepared daily to be the better you that you can be? And when you become a better you, that allows you to then take action now and get better results. So do something today. And again, congratulations to all of you who have jumped on. We're very excited to have you here, but also know that you're going to get a lot more out of this than the folks who may not have an opportunity to ask some questions. So we understand business is important, but so is preparation for business. So thank you for being here. The art and science of this, it's a process. We're going to be getting into future episodes where we talk about specifics within the buying process. But here, we just want you to know that the sales process we show, try to simplify it into building a relationship, making sure you establish a quality assessment of the clients and the prospective customer that you have in front of you, and of course be able to prepare and present in an effective manner the proper solution such that you have earned the right to make that call to action and ultimately trial close and make that sale or get that new business partner within your organization. So get into some new stuff today, and again, you'll see here that we're talking about the 3 elements of trust. And this is a really important concept because this is where most deals really don't happen. They seem to be moving in the right direction, and whether it's a small sale, whether it's a pitch to a large group, whether it's having somebody come into your business group, your team, getting that first person on your business, trust is the number one thing that will get in your way. And you may feel like you're a trustworthy person, but the question is, does the person that you're speaking to, does the audience you're speaking to feel that you are absolutely trustworthy and they are going to be entering into an environment that they can do so confidently and feel that they are going to be in good hands? The 3 main elements here of trust are listed: empathy, logic, and authenticity. And so we'll go through and discuss a few of these. And Joel's going to jump in whenever he sees fit to give some perspective on this. But I'm just going to kind of power through in the interest of time so that we can do some Q&A about this and address some of your concerns in real time.
Matt,
empathy is extremely important. And if I were going to pick one of these 3, it's hard to pick, imagine this is a stool with 3 legs, right? Well, which is the most important leg of the stool? It's hard to pick one. You need 3 legs on that stool, otherwise it's going to fall over in one direction or the other. So it's tough to pick one that might be the most important. I can say that it's probably the most difficult one, perhaps, is empathy. But any comments on this 3-legged stool, Joel?
Before I comment this, I want to say, for the people that are watching us the first time, when Matt and I talk about client or customer, we don't mean you're talking to a potential, just in your business world, a client, somebody that you're going to sign up for just services. When we talk about client or customer, we're talking also about we're referring as a general person, as somebody that could be also a potential business partner with you.
Correct.
And so I just want to clarify that, because I know that in your business, you differentiate client versus somebody that is doing the business with you. When Matt and I talk about client or customer, we're talking about either or, somebody that you're pitching a service but you're also somebody that could be a prospect to build the business with you. So I wanna make sure that I make that clarification for the people that are watching us for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And in those two separate scenarios, you're going to have different discussions, but you're going to have empathy in both those cases. You're going to have logic in both those cases, and you're going to have to be authentic in both those cases.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of research that goes into this. Ultimately, we're bringing you a very condensed version that involves studies in psychology through businesses and institutions that study businesses. We're trying to bring to you in a very, very dense format what you should be taking a deeper look into. So in developing yourself, it's not just, okay, make some notes here real quick and then go do that, but really do some research into how to do these things better. And I think Joel reads a couple of books a week at this point. I make sure that I'm doing the same thing. And what you'll find is that you keep enriching yourself and you'll start feeling different about your approach to some of these things. My approach to empathy today is a lot different than it was 15 and 30 years ago when I first started my career as a salesperson. And today I find myself in a position where I'm much more empowered because I have not only experience, but I have a continued developing evolution of my understanding of that art and science of sales. So empathy, to begin, requires you to have really the mindset that you're willing to commit sufficient time to do this right. This is really not something that can be done very quickly. Sometimes you'll meet someone it's very similar to yourself, and you can kind of get along with them very quickly. But most people that you meet won't be like you. And if you're looking to expand your business, obviously you have to look beyond the family and friends, your inner circle, if you will, and then you have to start talking to acquaintances, folks that maybe are a little less like you, and then all of a sudden you're talking to, hopefully, eventually the general public, especially if social media is going 2 and 3 degrees beyond the folks who are your quote-unquote friends. And so that's where a large active business will really start to develop, when you start to reach beyond the people that you know that are 2 and 3 degrees of separation from you. And so you have to commit ample time to truly get to understand and know these people. And the only way to do that is to remove the distractions from your communication with them. And I like to put in here, stop, look, and listen, because you really have to stop what you're doing and focus on these folks. Make them the priority. Look them in the face, communicate with your eyes, and really listen to them. Really hear what they're saying, process it, clarify. We've talked about a few of those things in the past, so I'm not going to go too deeply into empathy here because we have some more stuff to do today. The second part of this is that you have to really care about them as opposed to getting what you want. You want to make a sale. You want to have somebody on your team. You want to have your business grow. That's great, but think of it this way. If you give somebody else what they want, ultimately, the second part of that, the byproduct, is that you'll get what you want. And so it's a means to an end. Obviously, you want your income to grow. Obviously, you want your team to grow. You want to gain freedom. You want to gain flexibility with your time in your life. You want to have more wealth. Those things will come when you help others and you sincerely care about them and their freedom, their time, their wealth. So moving on to the second part.
Matt,
yeah.
Excuse me. On that empathy part, we have mentioned this guy before, and I think Jason mentioned him too. Simon Sinek, the guy that talks about your why, find your why.
Yep.
And I follow him on social media everywhere, and I saw one of his videos recently. He was talking about real communication, and one important aspect that he talked about is on this distraction section that you're talking about is that freaking cell phone. I'm guilty of this. We are all attached to this cell phone, right? I use it every day when I'm talking to my clients. I use it as a tool. It could be a great tool as well. But when you have a cell phone in your hand and you're talking to somebody, there's something psychological about it. Am I important, or is your cell phone that important that you cannot let it go? When you're talking to somebody, you're having that conversation. Are you putting your cell phone on the table, and even if you put it face down, that doesn't do anything. Yeah, why is it on the table? Why does it have to be there? And these little things, even though they seem minor and minuscule and may not seem important, present a huge psychological impact on the counterpart. And we talked about last 2 weeks. If you haven't seen the video of last 2 weeks, we talked a lot about empathy, and we talked about the reaction of the brain, how the brain processes information, and the two information processing systems of our brain. And if people feel, and this goes also to the third one, authenticity, if people feel that you're not really there, then that empathy comes out like it's fake. You're pretending to be interested because you want something off me, right? So, and this is something that I have to learn. I'm practicing it, even when I'm talking to my clients and when talking to my wife, because I am so attached to my cell phone, because again, it's a tool that I use every day, that sometimes I'm talking to somebody, and just because I'm so used to it, I look at it. In fact, I have the Apple Watch, and it vibrates every time I get a message, a Facebook message, anything, right? So my Apple Watch is vibrating all day long, right? I could be not wearing my Apple Watch and I still feel it vibrating. I don't know if that's ever happened to any of you. It's like that. I don't have it and I still feel it vibrating, and I look at my watch like there's a message. I don't know why. It just happens, right? So
it's a big day.
If you're talking to somebody is their microphone is unmuted. If you have this in front of you when you're talking to your client, you can now know that empathy section you're not doing a good job of. I just wanted to make that point, because you gotta really be there for them. Okay, you gotta really be interested. Matt?
Yeah, I'm trying to fix a mute here.
The coloring of the necklaces.
Okay, can you hear me, Matt?
Yep,
Perfect. Okay, I think you fixed it.
I think so.
Okay, let's go next.
All right, so what I was going to share, some of this really comes from a study that was done at the Harvard Business School, where they sent a team to several businesses that were struggling. And we're not talking about mom and pop businesses, but we're talking about businesses that didn't understand why, with such a great product, they were not progressing as they felt they should as an organization. I'm sure everybody on the call right now has heard of Uber. Okay, and this is one of the locations. So we're not talking about a run-of-the-mill type of company. Okay, and what they discovered in just observing the meetings was that people during a meeting who were supposed to be participating were texting each other back and forth about the meeting and weren't even really listening to what was really being said, because they were making comments to each other that weren't really related to the business at hand. And so they made a rule that people had to check their phones at the door. And all of a sudden, the meetings became tremendously more productive, one, but the people on the teams grew to know each other and interact better. Because you didn't have a bunch of individuals, you had a collective that was now working together in a much more productive environment. So it's a great point about the cell phone. But let's move on to logic. Ultimately, this is something that you have to be cognizant of and really focus on keeping it simple, such that the person you're talking to is going to be able to understand this very readily. The information has to be top-notch quality. Now that's going to come from your organization, right? They're going to provide you with the product, and they're going to provide you with a way to describe the product, its value, its features, the benefits, and things like that. But you can get lost in all the details, have a way to make sure that this is very simple, and the proposition for somebody purchasing or joining is going to be readily understood. And that comes also from your ability to clearly communicate that. This can take practice, and it can also be in development of communication style. There's tons of research on this. There's tons of resources on this. There's all kinds of material that you can read and use and practice with to develop your presentation skills. Sometimes it's your meet and greet. Sometimes it's how well you're communicating with somebody during the assessment process, such that you're developing and understanding what their needs are, making sure that the relationship that you're building is solid. And then we're getting to the point where we're actually now in step 3 of the sales process, where delivering a solution. You have to be able to do that in a very, very, very robust, strong, convincing manner, but it has to be a clear, straight, defined path, not something that's wandering all over the place with twists and turns that are difficult to follow. So that's very important. When people feel there's a very good logical basis to what's being communicated to them, then they're much more likely to trust. So people have to believe you care about them, and you should, to make it sincere, then it's believable. The second leg is logic. They have to believe that they can have trust in the actual product or service. And then the third part of this is challenging for a lot of folks, because they want to make a sale, they want to reach out to somebody, they want to conform, they want to be like the people they're communicating with, because a lot of people say, well, mirror match the person that you're talking to. And there's certain body language you can do, certain word choice that you can do to make yourself shall we say, a better communicator. But in the end, you have to be yourself. You know, you have to be who you are. If you're someone who's a little more reserved, it doesn't mean you can put on a phony act and suddenly all of a sudden, you know, be more frivolous or fake, trying to be, you know, dynamic. You know, be who you are. If you're a goofy person who just is kind of silly, be that person, but then have some really good care and some really good logic to go along with that spirit. And people will see you as a true person that just happens to be that way. And they'll grow to know you and to understand that in the context of what you're doing as a career is something that perhaps is not different than what they're trying to do. Everybody's different, and to bring something into their life, to bring something into their family, to bring something into their world, sometimes it comes from someplace foreign, if you will. I don't mean, you know, outside the U.S. in that sense, but something they're not familiar with. And so we tend to hang out with people that are like ourselves. You know, it allows us to be authentic in front of them. Our network of friends, you know, we can be ourselves in front of them. You have to have that same feeling of comfort when you're speaking to somebody about what you do. Be yourself, be proud of what you sell, be proud of what you're offering, be proud of the results that people can achieve and you've achieved, and ultimately be in a position where you don't have to apologize for being who you're not. It's very, very, very important. This is probably the easiest and hardest thing to do kind of at the same time. You know, empathy, again, we think I personally believe it's probably the most important of the three. Logic, you have a little less control over because you're selling a product or you're selling a service or you're presenting a compensation plan to somebody. There's some details there, but you can definitely work on your communication. But communication is involved in the expression of empathy, and communication is involved in the presentation of self. And so the authenticity there, it can be hard because you want to fit in, you want to convince somebody, you want to go into their world, but you really should be trying to bring them into yours and allowing them to then take you into theirs. That's an authentic relationship. And
that's
that
a good
starts
point,
by you being as real as you possibly can. Don't be fake. Don't be somebody you're not. Be who you are. If you're a sports fan, be a sports fan. Okay. If you're someone who likes dance, love dance. If you like art, great. If you're passionate about business, fantastic. Okay. Be who you are in addition to what you're offering.
Yeah, Matt, I like what you just said. Bring them into your world and allow them to bring you into theirs, and that's real communication. And if you do that, then you're hitting two of these three legs, which is the empathy and the authenticity, right? So, and the logic, like Matt said, is probably the easiest one in a sense. There's a lot of stuff, like Matt said, you cannot control. Your product is your product. Your services are your services. But what you control is how you present it, how effective you are, and in what process do you use, and what order do you present it, and if you do it right, then I mean the trust is earned, like we talked about last week. And if you do that, man, you see your business grow, and once people trust you, they will seek you. Then they'll bring other people to you. They will ask for your advice, and now everything you say, right, is law. Everything you say is like the word of God. I mean, that they just take it and they run with it. So just earn that trust by being empathetic. Be yourself, and when you present your logic argument, make it simple, quality information, simple proposition, and be clear.
Yeah. Being authentic is about developing a relationship, and you're also developing a reputation. And we're going to get into that in a slide or two as we go forward. But your trustworthiness is what will determine your business success, because without trustworthiness, people just won't feel confident doing business with you. And that's a huge part of being able to expand and develop a client base, a team, an organization, anything like that. So I want to touch on communication just for a second, because it's really an important part of what we're doing here when we're talking to a client or an individual or an organization, a group. And there are two ways that people communicate. If you were just to divide it into these two methods or concepts. One is to develop a story. It's kind of the long and winding path, and then end with a conclusion. Okay, and it's very common. It can be a fairly effective form of communication, but remember, people have short attention spans. The reason we're trying to keep the call a little bit shorter is because we know that by the time you're involved for half an hour, 45 minutes, you're definitely have thought about what's happening next, what's going on multiple times. The average person has a micro attention span of about 90 seconds before other thoughts start coming into their head. Okay, it's a very short period of time. And so to tell a winding, circuitous story with a lot of side stories to it, and oh, by the way, distractions, okay, you can lose people. There's potential confusion. They don't really follow the path as well. It becomes difficult for them. And then to resolve that, you kind of have to have a summary at the end of this long explanation. And you may not have many people truly have followed or understand. And when you give a summary, folks say, well, yeah, okay, but, and they're looking for now support because they didn't hear it along the way when you're arriving at the point of it at the end. The other way is to begin with the point, to make a statement. Communication is important. Okay? And now make it simple, make it easy to follow, and give lines of evidence. At the end of giving the evidence, now again, some people may be sold or agree with you after you make the statement. They already believe. Some people are going to agree with you after 1 or 2 points of evidence. Some people are going to agree after 4, 5, or 6. When there's enough evidence that has mounted and you can see in your communication that they're agreeing, that gives you the opportunity to know that they're on board with you and make a call to action. That's why you'll see in any sales funnel that they tell you what they're trying to do. I want you to buy this. I want you to join that. Then they're going to give you a reason. And then they give you an opportunity to join. And if you need more information, they then provide the second piece of evidence. And they give you an opportunity to buy or to join. Excellent websites are a perfect example of this statement and support. You should buy this. It's good for you because, and they start giving you the list of reasons. But they give you an opportunity to buy or to join at every point. There's a call to action at each level as the evidence is mounting.
Yeah, that's critical on your sales presentation. And folks, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you're doing every time you're presenting to a client your opportunity. You're doing a sales presentation. And a lot of what happens, I'm trying to express this on maybe another way. A lot of what happens is people start trying to over-explain the product, over-explain what the company can do, what the product can do, and they go into these features, they go into all these details, and what happens is they lose the client. The client most of the time is not interested in any of those, right? So imagine when you need a car, right? The majority of the people need a car because they need to go from A to point B, right? So when they go to a car dealership, if the salesperson starts showing you every feature of the car, start showing you how it works, and start explaining to you how every mechanical part of this car functions, I don't know, but me personally, I'm already uninterested, and I'm the one talking about it, right? So what you want to do is make sure that you do a power statement of what the benefits of your product or your business can do for them. And if they are interested and you present it properly, then you can do a call to action, get them to sign in, and then you can explain how it works. Then you can explain the what we call the evidence. You can explain the logic behind it. How many times have you bought an item? You buy a computer, and after you buy it, then you got to go to the manual and read it, or you got to get a class. I remember when I first bought my Apple computer, right? I was a Windows person. I have a degree in computer science, and I worked on Windows for forever, right, on Microsoft. And when I bought my first Apple computer, I bought it because my brother had one, my sister had one, everybody raved about it. And after I bought it, I had to pay to take a class to learn how to use it. So nobody explained to me how to use it before I bought it. So you don't have to go into these long version like what Manny's talking about on the first side, or the left side, the story and the conclusion. Go into this long version, this convoluted information that can create confusion, and then try to make your point. Make your point first, and then if needed, use evidence. Make sure that you do a call to action. A lot of people fail in sales and in your business because they never ask people to sign in or sign up or become a member or become a distributor or whatever title you use in your company. You got to make sure that you ask these people to take action. But you don't have to give them all the information. They don't need to know it. It is not needed. If they need it, I promise you, if you give them a powerful statement and they are interested and they need to know, they will ask you what they need to know. And every client will be different. You will not have to explain the entire product or business to people for them to sign in. So make it simple. Make sure that you make a power statement. And that power statement needs to be based on what you learned on the assessment. We talked about this a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen the other videos, go back and look at those videos. You got to find out what is important to them. If I find out that for Jason, the reason he's looking for an opportunity is because he wants security, financial security for his family, guess what my statement is going to be? My power statement is going to be about financial security. And if I can present that really well to Jason, I don't have to show a lot of evidence, and I ask him to join, if I need to, he'll going to ask me, but explain how it works. Tell me how we get paid. How do we do that? And now we got him in. And that's when you present the evidence. So make sure you keep it simple, make it easy to follow. This is something that we try to do in these presentations. If you see, Matt always has a well-organized slides with a few points that is easy to follow, right? We don't go into these. We don't give you a lot of information on the slides. And then we give you a Q&A so that if you need more information, more evidence, you can ask and we will give it to you. We follow the same process. Matt?
Excellent. Well, let's talk about the trust leap, okay? So in order for someone to say yes, that's what this is all talking about. It's how to get that yes, to make them comfortable and willing to say yes. So when you make that call to action, are they going to say yes or no? Largely, it comes down to their confidence, which is their level of trust. So going from known to unknown, what you see here is that what they know from the past versus what you're asking them to do right now in the present versus what the possibilities are for the future are really quite different. So I want to take a look at the known column, okay, because we're going to go from known to unknown, okay? That's transitional risk. That means in order to get from A to B, they have to put in a certain amount of faith. They have to put in a certain amount of effort. They may have to put in a certain amount of money. They may have to put in a certain amount of time. So there's something of value that's going in order to go from one place, which they're comfortable with, the known, they're familiar with their situation, okay? I have had an electric bill for a long time. I'm familiar with what it's probably going to be each and every month, okay? There's no effort required to keep doing the same thing, to get the bill from the same company over and over and over. And yeah, I wish the price were a little lower, but I've grown to accept and tolerate that. It's known, okay? Now, if you're asking me to go and change my provider, I'm moving into an unknown situation, okay? That means it's going to be new and unfamiliar. It's going to require effort, time. There's a risk. Am I sure it's going to be perhaps less money? Is there a true advantage? Is it going to be enough of an advantage for me to make this risk? And people fear change. They're not comfortable with the unknown. Who wants to walk into a room with a blindfold on? Nobody. Okay. It can be a very interesting experience. Try it sometime. It'll make you feel a little interesting. Okay. The transitional risk is only going to be minimized when people have confidence in what we call this trust stack here. In the present moment, when you're asking somebody, when you're calling them to action, and you're asking them to change, they have to agree that the idea or the concept is a sound idea or concept. Do you agree that saving money, giving yourself more free time, building a business, providing yourself and your family with a better future, enjoying more personal freedom, do you believe that that idea and concept is a good thing? Right? Do you like that? Oh, I do like that. Okay, great. Well, how am I going to get there? Well, the platform, the product, the system, the team, the company. Okay? Do I trust the environment, the provider? Okay? And then finally, the individuals that you're interacting with, right? Because the idea may be great. I'm going to spend less on my electricity. Perfect. Love it. Company seems solid. I'm not so sure about you, though. Okay. And this is where most deals are lost or delayed, and somebody will say, well, I got to think about it, right? The think about it is when they're not convinced that the idea or the concept is solid. They're not very confident in the platform of the company. But 65% of the time, I'm going to tell you this, 65% of the time, that is not the reason people choose to stay where they are, to choose not to buy. 65% of the time, it's because they say it's the person. They were not confident in the person. They did not feel the person was trustworthy. They did not feel the person was authoritative. They did not feel the person was confident. They did not feel the person did an adequate presentation. They didn't feel comfortable with the person. The person failed. The company did not fail, and the idea did not fail. 65% of the time, the business is lost because of you. That's a lot, 65%. So what I want to do is give Joel an opportunity to speak to this, but the next slide, again, is going to be about you and trustworthiness. So I want, of everything you see on this slide, to realize that the most important component in allowing somebody to feel comfortable making the trust leap is absolutely you. You make the difference. Joel?
Yeah, Matt, you gave an example of, how to, a client offering the opportunity to lower their electric bill. Now think about it as a prospect to do the business, right? This person, let's talk about an average American, right? Working 40 to 50 hours a week. They have a 9-to-5 job Monday to Friday, and then they go home and they have to work in the kitchen and attend to the kids and help them with homework, and then they go to bed and they do it over and over again, and they look forward for Friday so they can do something different, right? Something extra, something out of norm for the week, right? That's their known. That's what they're familiar. There's nothing. That's what we call the comfort zone, right? When you're presenting your business, you're asking them to move into what Matt called the unknown. Because now, that everything sounds great. I would like more money. Who doesn't? I would like more freedom. Who doesn't? But there's going to be some effort, something I have to put in. And what if I put in all these effort? What if I sign up? What if I do all this money? And then what if Jason doesn't help me, right? They don't trust you. Let's talk about that trust to you. What if what you're saying is the company doesn't work that great? What if I'm not going to get the support? Now I'm going to put all this and what's going to happen? Again, that's the unknown. I'm afraid of what could happen. And that's why a lot of people don't move, right? So you got to understand that's what you're trying. When you're presenting your business, you're trying to move people from one side to the other. And if they don't trust in you, the company and the product, they will not move. But Matt said, very important, 65% of the times is you. There's many franchise businesses, multi-level marketing companies, whatever you want to call it. Many of them out there. And I tell you this, if you work them properly, any of them can work for you and you can make a lot of money. The reason people will join your company is because of you. 65% of the time, if they say no, is because they don't trust you. And it's not that they may not trust that you're lying to them, but they don't trust that you can help them grow, that you can help them move. So you gotta prepare. You gotta be ready. This is what the people that are here in this training class, that's what you're doing. You're preparing yourself so that people can trust you, so that when you're presenting your product, you're doing it efficiently. And if you do that, then that fear of the unknown, that the unfamiliar, that fear of change is reduced, and you can help people move from one side to the other. Trust is huge. If you don't have trust, if we trusted each other, everybody in the world, we wouldn't have the problems we have. We just don't. We don't trust people. And that's why we are in the positions we are today in the world, right? So make sure that you gain that trust. You got to move from one side to the other. That's your job. Okay, Matt?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical. The passion with which you speak is important. It shows your confidence. People like to follow a confident person with a strong message. Your message should be very strong. You should know your stuff. You shouldn't have to wonder and think, and I'm not sure, and let me look that up. And that doesn't create the type of confidence that somebody's going to need to make a leap. You don't want that trust leap to be trying to, leap the Grand Canyon. Right? You want it to be, if there's any doubt, a tiny crack in the sidewalk, right? You need to narrow that up as much as you possibly can. That is the best way I can possibly explain it. Bring it in such that the leap is very, very, very short. Okay. So let's talk about trustworthiness. Okay, this is the feeling that people will have about you. Okay, it's a quality that you will either present or not present. Okay, the person, the crowd, the organization that you're talking to is going to consider you as an individual. They're going to look at the person and they're going to make judgments about you. Okay, and you can control a lot of this. Okay, it is well known, and I don't mean this to say anything other than it's a statistic that certain people are more trusted than others. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Okay. Sometimes it's the context. Okay. What context are they in? Would you trust a mathematician or a bus driver with 30 years of bus driving experience, a PhD mathematician genius, or a bus driver with 30 years of experience to drive your child somewhere? Context, right? I'm going to go with the bus driver.
I second that motion.
Yeah, right? So consider the person, but also consider where that person is. So you have to be someone that they look at and say, is this person in the right place? Okay, you have to be that right person, right place, right time. Okay. Part of that is going to be any history that you've had with that person. And here's where building your business, shall we say, in the early stages can be a lot easier, because you talk to some friends and family, and these people know you. They just inherently trust you. They know who you are. They know what you're up to. They want to support you. And so they're easier to sell. But then you have to rely on a reputation when you start meeting people. And Joel touched on this earlier. When you walk into a room, people should be like, that's the gal, or that's the guy, right? This is the one that started it all. This is the one that really know, oh my gosh, that's our hero right there. Okay. You're so lucky you're going to get to meet her. You're so blessed to be able to meet him today. Okay. Help each other build up each other's reputations. Okay. Again, continue to go to the meetings, continue to work together as a team. This is not an individual sport. This is a team sport. Okay. And if you're thinking of this as an individual and I want to be the best, or I want to be number one. Okay. Think of your team then as the coaches, the accountability partners, and the support system that you have. Again, it's a team sport. It's just one person's on the court and the rest of the people are on the support team. Okay. Have your reputation built so that it precedes you. A reputation is going to be something that is extended verbally. It's something is built online. Really, really, really important. Okay. They're also going to take a look at the position that you're in. How much authority do you have? And this is really key here about motive, right? What's in it for you? Because as soon as you approach somebody that you're not very familiar with, or even friends, heck, when I say, hey, Joel, I've got something you've got to check out, right? Sometimes it's going to be something really social, and of course he's going to want to see it because I'm his friend, and I'm always showing him stuff, so he's excited to see what's next. Okay, but if I start telling him, hey, this is going to cost you some money, then the question, or this is going to cost you some time, or I really need you to commit to something before you really know what it is fully. The question is going to be, well, what's in it? What's in it for me? Why do I want him to make that commitment? Why do I want him to put that time aside? Whether I'm going to need to start explaining something, right? What's the motive for asking for more? So when you meet someone who's more of a stranger or someone who's a friend of a friend, now the question becomes, why do they want to become my friend? What's in it for them? What's that person's motive for wanting to give me this great stuff, right? So in the end, it's very, very, very important to realize that they are looking you up and down, inside and out, trying to figure you out before they listen to anything that you're going to tell them. And that can happen across the room. I've seen people lose trust by doing something silly on the other side of a room, and then all of a sudden they get together, they start meeting that person who they could have had a great business relationship with, but that person doesn't look at them in a very positive light because of the primacy effect. It's an effect where someone makes a judgment about you before even meeting you. And it can be tragic, but simple little mistakes like that will ruin a reputation locally, and with social media today, it can be a really big problem. So please be on your best behavior, be professional, be the person you want to be your best self at all times. Joel, any comments on that left side?
Yeah. On the left side, when we're talking about considering the person and your reputation, when you're talking to somebody, or we're talking about somebody that may not be on your circle of friends and family, people that you have that long relationship with, remember that your business is a relationship business. You're in the people business. So you could create a reputation and a history within a short period of time if you are a person of your word, right? And this is something that people mess up a lot in your business. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I had somebody, we talked about this actually on one of the videos. I had somebody that we agreed on a phone call for a business presentation, and that person did not tell me that they were going to bring a third person in. Immediately we lost trust, right? So now that person has created a history of I'm going to call it hardy, but a lie, or she was hiding information from me. I don't trust that person, right?
You felt manipulated.
Yeah, but awful, right, for me. And not only that, she agreed after we finished a phone call that she was going to follow up with me 3 months from now, from that day. Hey, Joel, is it okay if I follow up with you 3 months from now? Guess what? She's been texting me at least once a week. You said 3 months from now. Why are you texting me this week, right? So the history and the reputation this person has created in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks speaks volumes, right? So remember that everything you do, Matt said it, you could be doing something in the corner, they're seeing you, you're creating that reputation, that history. So everything you say, watch your words, because if you tell people you're going to do something, you got to do it. If you tell them you're going to be there at 9, you got to be there at 9. If we tell people every other Monday, we got to be every other Monday. Matt had a commitment today. Matt cut the commitment short today because he gave his word he was going to be here every other Monday, right? So you got to build that reputation. Your motive in your business, this is key, because in multi-level marketing or network marketing or franchise marketing, there's different names for it, right? A lot of people always have this conception of, you're approaching me because you're going to get a commission out of me. You're going to make money off of me, right? And we all know that that's true. If Jason signs me up, Jason, do you get paid?
Yes.
Right? If I sign other people, do you get paid?
Yes.
Right? And a lot of people try to hide that fact. A lot of people try to presented like they're here because they're here to help you and only you, and I'm not here for the money. I'm doing this because I love it, right? I love people, and you may love people. I love people. I mean, I do love people. I look to better others. I'm known to give too much. I'm known to be a sucker because people get advantage of me, take advantage of me, right? Because I give a lot. But when I'm there trying to sell you something, I'm gonna make a commission. I'm gonna get paid. And a lot of people try to hide that part of the business, and people may test you on this. What do you get out of it? And if you try to sugarcoat it, and you try to finesse it and not be completely straightforward and honest, you go back to, you're not authentic, you're not real, I don't want to do business with you, right? And I've been in sales since I was 15 years old, and I've had many people ask me, how much do you get if I buy this? And I found that by just telling the truth, by just answering, most of the time it's a better way of going about it, rather than trying not to answer or to lie or to cover it, right? So when they want to know your motive, it's okay for them to let them know this is your business. You're here for business. We're gonna prosper. That's what we're here for. You and I. The best part of your business is that I prosper if you prosper. And that's the truth. Jason makes more money if his downline makes more money.
Mm-hmm.
So, but make sure that that's part of your motive, and don't hide it. Don't try to sugarcoat it. You gotta be honest. You gotta be authentic. Okay, Matt?
Yeah, it's a really good point. People are willing to pay lawyers for good service, right? You want good representation. You're willing to pay for that. You want a good doctor? Are you willing to pay for quality medical services? Are you willing to pay for someone to repair your car properly? A good mechanic? We're willing to pay for good service. Sales is a service. There's nothing wrong with being a great salesperson, a great representative of your organization. That is your career. It's okay to be paid for that. People pay for accountants. People pay for everything that they cannot provide to themselves. Okay? And if you're providing freedom, how incredibly valuable can that be? You're providing security for their family. If you're providing wealth, a positive future, a new beginning, what a wonderful thing to pay for. Okay? So I can't agree with you enough. I've had people ask me that. I've told them the number, and I've had people say, "That's it, man. You were great. They should pay you more than that." Mm-hmm. I've had people say, "Well, can I get half of that back?" And I say, "No." Right? It can become a fun thing, but don't deny it. I have people that work in sales organizations, and they say, "I'm in customer service." BS. You're not in customer service. You're in sales. Go ahead and say you're in sales. How do you become a great salesperson? You provide great service. Yep. You provide great information in a fun, passionate, enjoyable environment. People are willing to pay for entertainment. Entertain them. Okay? So really important. Joel touched on a lot of stuff on the right-hand side here about being competent, honest, reliable. Okay? That's the evidence you have to provide, to prove your trustworthiness. Okay? Make the evidence adequate. Okay? You say you're going to be there at 9, be there at 9. I'd be there at 8:45. Okay? Make it simple and useful. Okay? And then be vulnerable. Be able to take some of the responsibility and share the risk. Okay? I'm going to help you. The two of us are going to make money together, or the two of us are going to waste our time and not make money together. And I'm telling you right now, Joel, I'm not interested in wasting my time, my effort, or my money. So we're in this together. I'm also making a risk when you join my team, because I'm going to have to give you my time, my effort, my expertise. I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to train you. I'm going to make you I'm going to help you become the best you can possibly be. That's going to be a big requirement from me. Okay? Make sure you understand that. You're making a sacrifice as well. You don't want losers on your team, do you? I want winners on my team. I don't want crybabies on my team. I want people who are tough and ready to step up and make things happen. I don't want excuses. I want results. Right? But that doesn't come from hope. It comes from action. Okay? And when you do that, you're going to allow that person to see you in a different light, and it will increase their level of confidence in you. And I want to put the other spin on this here. The other side of increasing confidence is not just their confidence in you, but please understand that most people are not confident in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They do not believe that they are good decision makers. So for them, when the risk is even slight, they have a tendency to stay where they are because they don't want to make a mistake. They've been once bitten, so now they're twice shy. Allow them to feel confident in themselves. Make the decision so easy, so straightforward, so obvious that even someone who has made poor decisions in the past feels like this is a good decision. Joining you, taking advantage of the opportunity is a good decision that they are confident in making themselves. Don't pull them in. You want them to jump in. That is truly the trust leap because of your trustworthiness.
And we're going to go to the questions and answer real quick, but to put this all together, I want to give you another practical example, real life example. Again, this is probably, I think it was 2 Thursdays ago. I, again, get approached by a young lady from Miami that wanted to present me with the business. This happens to Matt and I quite often. We do a lot of training. We do training with you guys, and we do some other groups, a lot of public speaking as well. So we get approached a lot. So this young lady asked me for the opportunity to have a conversation and present me with an opportunity. So I agreed, and she happened to be using Zoom, the same technology we're using today, and she's in Miami. And we started the call, and she says, "How are you? How you doing?" And we talked a little bit about I'm talking about 2 minutes. She asked me a few questions about me, and she did not say anything about herself, right? And says, "I don't want to waste your time or my time," she said, right? So I don't know, but she's telling me that maybe I'm a waste of her time. And she goes, I'm gonna jump right into the product, right? So that empathy phase that Matt was talking about earlier, right? That takes some time to develop. She never took time for it, right? And she just went into the product. Now, instead of giving me a high level presentation of the opportunity and how it would benefit me, well, number one, she couldn't do it because she never assessed me. She never asked me. She doesn't know what my intentions were. She asked me to show me an opportunity, and I say, okay, but she never asked me why I'm looking for an opportunity. Why did I agree to listen to her? She doesn't know. She doesn't know my family composition. What do I do for a living? How much time do I have? Nothing. She just went into the business and product. And to make it even worse, the presentation had misspelling. It was very convoluted. Some of it was on a great PowerPoint presentation. Others were like on handwritten. and it didn't look professional. And when she was talking about different topics, she didn't know enough about the product. She's new to her business. She didn't know enough about it, but she still tried to explain them to me, which I didn't need any explanation. In fact, I ended up explaining to her some of her product because I knew about it more than she did. And at the end, she goes, "So what do you think about this? Are you?" And she asked me something she did good is she did a call to action. She goes, "Are you ready to move forward?" Right? Now, she was authentic. She was real. She never presented in her presentation. She never said that she was making millions or that she was one of the top producers. She told me that she showed me who you saw her their success. So she did some things right, but she missed that empathy part of that presentation. And she missed the competency, the reliability. It wasn't simple. It was, I wouldn't trust my best to do business with her. Great girl. Sounds like afterwards, we spent about 30 minutes getting to know each other a little bit more. And man, after that, I feel guilty. I'm going, man, I wish I could help her. In fact, I almost sent her a text message later saying, "Hey, you should join this call on every other Monday," even though it's not on stream, because it will help your business. But she missed all those integral part of the presentation. And even though her product is good, the company, because I've heard of her company before, is a great company. I don't trust doing business with her. And that's the word. I don't trust doing business with her. She's not competent enough, and she didn't show me what I needed to see in order to move forward and say, you know what, I might take a chance with this. Go from the known to the unknown, right? So all these little steps that Matt and I covered today, they sound really simple, but I've said this many times before. One of my mentors used to say, it's simple, but if you're not doing it, they're advanced, right? So if you're not being empathetic, if you're not building that relationship with people, right? If you're not being authentic, if you're not presenting your logical part of your product in a simple and strong way, you're going to get more no's than yeses more often than not, right? And we want to move you to the yes column, right, Matt?
That's what it's all about. So I'm going to unmute everyone, and we'll do a little Q&A. Fire away.
I think they can do it also on the chat if they want.
Yep, absolutely. It's a small enough group, so I thought, heck, I'll unmute, and if somebody wants to jump in and ask a question, have at it.
Go ahead.
We overreached against Bill Clinton.
If you have TV on, can you mute your phone?
In the Oval Office. And this is just ridiculous. The collusion and the...
Matt, you may have to mute everybody. And
yeah, I'll do that.
The president of the
Somebody has the TV on, sounds like.
$1 billion in the budget.
So I've allowed you to unmute yourself. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself on the Zoom and speak. Otherwise, just throw it in the chat.
Yeah. Jason, any comments or questions? Matt, you got to unmute Jason.
Where is he? There you go, brother.
Hey, no, I personally don't have any questions. I'm just following along and taking it all in, just like everybody else. But it was interesting, that last story you shared with us with that lady. Didn't sound like she cared enough to make a friend and try to build a relationship up with you. She just kind of jumped right into wanting to show you what she had to show you. Didn't really
she was sincere.
earn the right to advance or anything.
She's excited, right? She's excited about the opportunity. She has a fish on the line, and so she just yanks it, right? That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Either that, or she was too worried about wasting her time.
Yeah, that too, or maybe she was worried about wasting my time.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that way. You know, I don't want to waste his time, so let me go to the product. Let me go to the presentation. And getting to know me, to me, is not a waste of time. People love talking about themselves.
Yes.
People
they do.
People love talking about what is important to them. Right? Now, I remember going to a party or get together. It was bunch of doctors, right? And the average age was like 60s and 70s. And back then I was in my 30s. I think it was early 30s, 2000, my 20s actually. And at the time I was playing poker professionally, and I go to this thing that I was asked to go, and I didn't want to go because I'm thinking, what do I have in common with this bunch of doctors, right? And older crowd, 40-year older than me, right? And I got there, and one of these gentlemen comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm told that you play poker professionally." I say, "Yes, I do." And he goes like, "Oh my God, man, I am trying to learn how to play poker." And we sat down. This guy was close to 70 years old. I spent about 2 hours with this guy. I was in a house get together. I was on the sofa with this guy. Spent about 2 hours, and the person that took me to the party was going, "Hey Joel, let's go." And I'm going, "Oh, give me a minute." And I wanted to stay there, just talk to this guy, because the guy wanted to talk to me about what I was interested in. So those 2 hours were not a waste of time to me. Maybe it was a waste of time to him, but not to me. I was the one doing all the talking, and he was asking about me. So if she would have taken interest in me, I promise you, it wouldn't have been a waste of time. In fact, even if I did enjoy the business, I may have developed a relationship with her that could have been a business in the future, right? So Matt said earlier, empathy takes time. And a lot of people in your business try to teach you how to close people right away. And that's good. Learn those techniques, because if you see an opportunity to close a sale, to do a call to action, take it, right? There's a movie, ABC Always Be Closing. Was a movie, Boiler Room, right?
Yep.
If you're in sales or it's a great movie, I think, to watch. It has some good stuff and some funny stuff too. Some things that I would, but you always want to make these calls to action. So there's never too soon to do it. It's okay to ask people to join. And if they say no, then you got more chance. But your business is a people business, a relationship business. So you got to take your time. That's what empathy is all about. If she would have taken more time with me, maybe the results would have been different, right? So make sure you take the time. Be interested in people. That's what the business you're in.
And it's interesting when you talk to people and you're talking for 5, 10, 15 minutes, sometimes they bring up something that you have a curiosity in, or you can kind of develop an interest just because it's new, and then they just like you to listen to them. Mm-hmm. I can tell you that, I had, this is years ago, probably decade and a half, but I had met a guy that was not in, and we do some business in the hospitality industry and the travel industry and such. And in this particular scenario, the gentleman had come in to a presentation that was travel related, and I asked him about his travel history, and he said, "I don't have any." And I thought, okay, you're at a travel presentation. You must be excited to start traveling. Where is it that you want to go? And he says, "Back to my farm." And I thought to myself, okay, there's some disconnect here, but let me ask you, instead of why are you here and trying to dig into that situation, it was, whoa, man, farming, I don't know anything about it. Consider me a city boy, but I know my food comes from somewhere. What do you farm? And kind of got on his level. He eventually taught me about alpaca farming, of all things. And I found out that he was a pilot because he was, in the Air Force and all this kind of stuff. And it went on and on and on. I just had an enjoyable conversation with the guy. And it kind of came around. I never asked the question. He said, "So is this good, what you guys do here?" And I said, "For somebody who wants to travel, so I don't know if it's going to be good for you." And he said, "Well, it probably would be good for me because my wife of 40 some years has been poking me saying, I want to go see the world. She'd been on a farm and had started watching the Travel Channel and leaving little clues around the house, magazines, advertisements for Hawaii and Egypt and things like this. And money was not a question for this guy. But as much as he wanted to stay on his farm, he also wanted to please his wife. He ended up making a very, very significant purchase because his motivation was the happiness of his wife. Okay? And I never asked him. It came around to him respecting the fact that I listened to him.
You took the time to get to know him.
Interest in hearing what I had to offer. I didn't do a sales pitch, and I got a sale.
You took the time to get to know him, and that's the key. Get to know
That
your
is key.
customer, get to know your client, build that relationship.
That is key.
That is the key. You're in the people business. Well, I don't see any questions.
There's a saying what's the saying? When people know how much you care, they care to how much you know, something like that.
Yeah.
So have an interest in that person. Care about them. Listen to them. Should be 80-20. You should be listening to them 80% of the time and you talking 20% of the time.
Yeah.
And if you listen to people, they generally tell you everything you want to know. They'll tell you why they want to do it or why they need it or, why they need to make extra money or whatever it may be. They'll tell you everything you need to know.
And what's interesting, people always sometimes find out that they're challenged by conversation with strangers. Strangers can be more open to you than the people that know.
Yeah.
The stranger figures, I'm never going to see you again. So they open up and they use it almost as a counseling session. It's unspoken, but it's private, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the person that you know is going to hide stuff a little bit because they don't want it to come up later in some other conversation, in some other context in front of other people because you slipped, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the irony is that you can get more personal information out of people that you don't know just by listening because people love to be listened to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some of the best counselors are the people that just go, mm-hmm.
That's true.
Right? It's crazy.
They're like, I got a great
and
counselor.
then at the end, they'll say, my gosh, you're so good at what you do. You're a great counselor. Amazing.
Yeah, it is. We say that in our business too, Matt. I mean, it's amazing how, outsiders, people you may have went to school with 20 years ago may pop out of the blue because they saw you post something on Facebook and they're willing to become your customer. But you go to your mom, you go to your brother, you go to your sister, and they're like, what? You want to do what with my electric bill? I mean, you're probably better off trying to get a kidney or something from them. But here comes somebody you haven't seen in 20 years, and they read a little post you put, and they're like, I'll be your customer. I like to save. And it's like, what?
Family.
How is this possible?
God made family to keep you humble.
That's the truth.
I tell my sisters, hey, I'm doing this venture. Oh, you're crazy! You this, you that. I mean, it's just that's what family's for. It's easier to get sales from other people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I don't see any more questions or comments.
I got a story I can share with you guys if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rich.
On the gaining the trust and everything. I have another business outside of Stream, and one of my clients actually lives out in Texas, and we just got to talking, and just out of nowhere, man, he just starts talking about, oh yeah, I was in Iraqi freedom, and I've been dealing with PTSD and a lot of this going on, this and that, and I just listened to him. I listened to him for probably a good 15 minutes, and we just went back and forth, and he shared with me how he's actually been bettering himself. He's a skydiving teacher now. He doesn't take any more medications. He skydives, and that actually helps him get through his PTSD. And so he hinted a few times about he struggles financially because he's on just I forget exactly what the word is, but he's only getting $1,400-$1,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so we let it at that. And then a few days later, I hit him up and said, hey, Chris, I know you said you struggle with, finance and stuff like that. I said, would you be open to another way to make a couple extra bucks? If you didn't have to get another job or anything like that. He said, yeah, that'd be fantastic. And so I shared with him the opportunity, and he's interested. I actually have him scheduled tomorrow to talk with another friend of ours in stream who has kind of the same background. He suffered with PTSD. He was overseas, so they have a lot of the same traits, a lot of the same struggles. So, but yeah, man, you just let people talk, and you earn a connection with them, you earn a trust with them.
Yep.
And now you're doing a mirror match. It sounds like you're matching them up to somebody that's going through similar stuff. Just curious, is that person Andy Brock?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's a good person, man. Great person to have him talk to.
Yeah. So yeah, and you just, like I said, you just never know. You just listen to people, and I do that often. Jason knows I make friends with everybody. It's I think people need to take more time just to listen.
That's right.
Actually be, just be human. Connect with people.
Yeah. That's a great story. That's a great story. And the key of listening is that they'll tell you how to sell them. They tell you what they need. They tell you what part of the product you got to present. And one mistake a lot of people do that you didn't do is that he dropped a lot of hints, right? And you didn't jump on them.
Right.
No.
You listened,
patient.
you paid attention, right? And there's a movie, Moneyball. Anybody seen that movie with Brad Pitt? Is about the A's, the Oakland Athletics, the baseball team. It's based on a true story. And in that movie, he's taking this struggling team who they don't have a good budget to hire great players, and he has this Harvard guy that is a mathematician create a statistic program, and they're looking for underpaid players that may not be superstars, but he creates a good team. When he's talking to his team, he tells them, this is how we're going to win this, right? Number one is, I want you to, and he tells this to this guy he puts on first base, and he's afraid of the ball. Literally, he puts him on first base, one of the worst places to be if you're afraid of the ball. And he goes, what's your problem with first base? And he says, I'm afraid of the ball. And he says to be like a Gap greeter, like a Walmart greeter, right? He said Gap, the store. When people are coming in, hey, welcome to the Gap, right? Just have fun. Say hi to people. Forget about what you're doing and just be human, like you said, right? Then he said to the other group, he says, and then we win this game, but not by scoring, but by making less mistakes. Let them make the mistakes. And when they're making mistakes, don't interrupt them, right? And a lot of people in sales, I call this a mistake. When people are giving you information, they're making mistakes because they're telling you how to sell, right? And a lot of people interrupt them. Oh, you say you want to make money? You're struggling? Hey, let me tell you about Stream. And you cut a mid-sentence. You're showing you don't care. And now when you pretended, because now you're pretending to care for them, but you have a different motive. What you want is to make money out of me, right? All those things present themselves. But you didn't make that mistake. You let them talk. You let them keep you giving mistakes, and you waited and you waited. And you truly care, which is important. But after you truly care, you call them a few days and go, hey, listen, you mentioned this. You said this. I heard you say this. That shows you listen, right? Actively listening. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. And now when you present the solution, how can he say no to that?
Right.
How can he say no when he was telling you, I'm struggling, not making any money? You listen to that and you say, hey, listen, you can make money without getting another job. How can he say, no, I'm not open to it? Right? So you follow this strategy to the T. That's a great job there. Somebody Somebody said, "Great job, Rich." That's sweet that you said that.
You were patient too. I mean, a lot of people in sales, they're just not patient. They just don't allow things to kind of, work itself out over time. They jump to the gun. They go for the kill right away. And rather than build that relationship, and you did an excellent job there, Rich. The other day, I had signed up a brand new associate personally, and of course, I could have done everything on my own, right? I know enough of this business. I think I've mastered it by now. But here I had a gentleman who was from Africa, and he owned a clothing store, and I would go in there and get my clothes tailored and so forth from him because he does an excellent job. He's provided me great service over the years. I've been a customer of his for a long time. And here he was asking me what I was getting, dressed and ready for. And I was telling him I have a gala to attend in Texas next month. And he said, "Oh, Mr. Jason, I'm going to have you looking like the sharpest person down there." And so we were just having our conversation, and he started asking me, what do I do? And I started sharing a little information with him. And then instead of continuing on, I actually put him on the phone with a top income earner that lives in Maryland that also happened to be from Africa. And the two of them, connected. And it was great that Coffee, that's this gentleman's name, was able to get all of his concerns and all of his objections and everything that worried him about, being somebody from Africa trying to do this business. And man, the gentleman that I hooked him up with, his name is Fikro, and he's out of Maryland. He handled everything perfectly. And he was able to explain to him and relate to him and understand everything and his concerns, but then also let him know that it can be done. I'm a proven fact it can be done. I'm an executive director just like Jason is. We're both top income earners. We both drive Mercedes and so on and so on. And so this guy felt so much more comfortable. Now, I already had him to a point where he liked me and trusts me. I've been doing business with him for a number of years. But I understood the power of the third-party call. I understood the power of mirror matching. And I say that for a reason, Matt. When I posted that and told a little story about that, people were really amazed by that here I am, an executive director and top income earner, that I'm still mirror matching. I'm still reaching out and getting people involved in third-party calls. And I think that people don't understand the importance of those two things. That if you're able to relate your guest with another person and you're able to utilize that with a third-party call, I don't think people quite get how important that is. And maybe at some point we can actually do a training on how important that is and how effective it works, because yeah, it would be great. And I know that a lot of people would be interested to be on for that.
Think about the increase in the level of trust that those two had. As much as you knew him, as familiar as the two of you were, the trust level just went up to a whole new height once you brought in that third party, Yep. And it's a matter of not being in a position where you feel that you know it all or you need to be independent, okay? Mm-hmm. You're smart enough at every level to use all the tools that are available to you, the entire team, and this is what I would go back to, follow the process.
Oof, I was going to say that. Oof, that's a bit. Oof.
Go ahead, Joel.
No, I was going to say that and you said it for me. Yeah. I was going to say, Jason, you know the process.
That's right.
That's it.
That's the key. Now, think about this for a second. What is empathy? What's the meaning of empathy? When that is putting yourself in the other person's shoes, right? That's empathy. Look at how smart Jason is. Instead of putting himself in these shoes, he found somebody that is already in the shoes.
Right.
So talk about that empathy and that connection. It's hard for me to say, listen, I understand where you're coming from because I'm not from Africa. I know so even though you could be empathetic, but by you bringing somebody that is just like him, that person is in his shoes. Mm-hmm. They're the same. what you created, what you created there, that synergy, that is powerful. And if people understood that, there would be an executive just like you are. Because, like Matt said, they follow the process. They follow the process. You understand the process, and you understand that you may have to do it, or you may have to have somebody else do it. It's a great job. Any other questions, comments?
No, man. Hey, thanks a lot. I couldn't remember if we were on our 4th episode or 5th episode. I actually posted it as 5th, but it was our 4th. So next week will be officially, or 2 weeks from now, will be officially our 5th.
Yep.
But great job, guys. Really appreciate you guys. And we'll get this recording out to everybody so you can pass on to your teams. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people watching the recording because of the big show that went down in Philadelphia tonight. There was a lot of people there. So, but thank you all for getting on with us tonight. I know you learned a lot.
I appreciate something, Jason. Every single video, every single training that we do, you are always with your notebook.
You see that, huh?
I always see you with your notebook, and that says a lot about a leader.
Yeah, I know. I know what Jason's going to say now.
Matt called this your sword. You never leave your castle without your sword, right?
Your sword, your shield. You know, if you're in battle, you have to look to the person to the left and go, "Oops, I left my sword back at the castle. Can I borrow yours?"
That's right.
Maybe after.
Let me tell you, from this side, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, man. Can you believe after all these years, I still remember all this?
That's great.
It shows you what kind of dictator he was, huh, Joel?
I'm glad I used that word, because when I met Matt, and he became my boss right away, and that's what I called him. I called him a few other stronger words than dictator. Got me fired, but yeah, he's a dictator. Have a great night, everybody.
Good stuff.
Right. See you in 2 weeks. That's going to be the 1st of April. So for the sake of the video, I'm going to flip back and share that last slide so that anybody can see that. We've got our next episode coming up 9 p.m. April 1. That's 2 Mondays from today. I want a special shout out to Rich. Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that. It makes this community richer, and we will all absolutely positively benefit more from this. So love the story. Look forward to integrating that into what we do. Stories, my friends, that's an episode in and of itself. So
yes.
Have a great week. Set your goal, write it down, achieve it, no excuses. You can all do it.
Make it happen.
Have a great week.
Have a good night.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, fellas.